Good morning. Right, I'm still setting up, so. Okay, we've got sound. Brilliant. Turn the heater off. Headphones. One, two. One, two. That'll do. Seems a bit dark in here. A little bit. Not too much. Excellent. And I think that's everything. All right, good morning. How's everybody doing? Do say hello in the chat. So I think today we're going to have a regular day in the studio and I'm going to make some music. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, I think I'm going to do some synths today. All right, got some people coming on. Tell you what, can I get my head right? Hair right, I should say. It's got a mind of its own today. Well, Right, let's see who's here. Ah, look, there's everybody. Sorry, I was just minding myself. Waiting for the solo album. Right, well. Hi, Angus. I think you were the only one there, but now we've got Audio Eyeballs and Graham. And who else? More Audio Eyeballs. Right, okay. Well, it's interesting. Solo album. Well, there's a ton of stuff that like I've produced on my own, but it's all like dance music. And then obviously we've got Rockland and Hutch, and then we've got I've just I've just re-released a ton of old music. When I say it's interesting actually because I don't know if you're aware of this. Stay at the chat with me. So, back in the day, I mean, talking right back in the day, late 90s. So my band with my beloved other half Sharon, we decided that we had an absolute ton of material that was still all right from back then, and we decided to put it up for everybody to enjoy. So the band was called Freakstar. So yes, we're talking like late 90s, and all of that music, I never went to a studio to do that. It was all done in my bedroom. Like, it was all MIDI and it was all hardware. I think the last part of the stuff, I was just starting to do everything in the box really, really early on when people were just kind of doing it. Now, you can find Freakstar on... you'll find it on SoundCloud. So go to SoundCloud, and that's where all the material. So I put up, I think it was either 30 or 31 songs, which is pretty much all the back catalogue. And one of the interesting things is that band, we had, I mean, unfortunately it didn't work out, but we had a good, healthy bit of interest from record labels, I must admit. And we even turned down the Levi 501 Twisted advert. So there you go, and there's another story. Turned down because we were too focused on the big time, the big record deal. And we didn't want to disappear into nothing. But yeah, it was great. And I mean, at the time I was living in the northeast, but I spent most of my time going down to London. It was all very exciting. Oh, 2 years. But it was all produced basically in a bedroom. That was it. So there are 30 songs there, and interestingly enough, we've just been out. I mean, if you looked on the Instagram, there was a little clip, a tiny little clip of a video, just a social media video that we're doing. Because although the stuff's on SoundCloud, so we'll put everything up on SoundCloud, and really what that was to do was we weren't promoting it, we were just archiving it because it just felt wrong. It's weird because it just felt wrong to have everything just on a computer gathering digital dust and not actually doing anything. And we just felt that it should be out there, at least, even if we don't promote it, for people to kind of discover. So we've put it out there, and it's weird because like how you think of your music when you release it is completely different. And at first I didn't want to do it because I was like, oh, you know, I'm an artist, I've moved on from that, I'm not kind of doing that. And then I was kind of like, you know, forced to do it, and then I did it and put it up. And then when I listened to it, I thought, you know what, actually I'm glad I've done that because this stuff is good. It's like catchy and it's still like really relevant, and people are going to like that. And it's a shame just to like not have it up there for people to not enjoy. I think one of the things, and it was a good reminder actually, because I used to go through a lot of that kind of thinking early on when I was producing a lot of dance music. I used to think, you know, if I thought like a track, I didn't like a track, then it was a bad piece of music that I'd done. and therefore I shouldn't release it. And that's completely wrong, because what would inevitably happen is everybody else would like that piece of music, and say, no, what's wrong with you, Tim? Like, this is like really good. There used to be that thing with the publisher. I used to always like, so when I had publisher, basically I would always finish tracks off on a Monday, send tracks to them, and in those tracks there would be stuff in there I really didn't like, and those tracks would go to top liners, to people to write lyrics to, and I would always pray that they wouldn't pick the songs that I didn't like, and every time singers would pick the songs that I wasn't into, and they would come back to me, and then I would finish them, they would get released, and I'd think, oh, you know what, that's all right. Yeah, I remember that. I did a track with an artist, quite well known artist, called Paulina Griffiths, and I remember doing that track, and I was just like, to the publishers, I really don't think. But like now when I hear it, I think, oh God, I'm glad I did that. So I think, in conclusion, when we finish a piece of music, whether we like it or not, there's a couple of things we need to ask ourselves, and I think the main one is, if we ask ourselves the question of, is this music a good example of what it wants to be? Because the problem with us creators is there's too much of the I want this, I want that, and it's really difficult, because we're in a creative industry, and we're in an industry where we've got AI, and AI, if you're not a unique human being, right, and you're just being a craftist and you're conforming too closely to a genre of music, you will be replaced, right? It's going to happen. Okay. So we need to be unique, and part of that being unique is there is no uncertainty, as I always say. We have to just do the process and follow what that process is telling us to do. We've got to follow our initial ideas towards the music, because it is the music that is the boss, not us. And our thoughts and opinions on that aren't really, it isn't accurate information. So when it comes to releasing music, is it a good example of what it wants to be? If the answer is tick yes, then release it. In fact, you could release it anyway, because if it is finished and that is the definition of your track, release it and just see how it is received, because you will learn loads from that. The other thing is, I do think at that point, and the other thing about this being a good reminder to me, is that music, to me, doesn't belong to me, it belongs to other people to enjoy, so therefore it is my duty to release that music, so other people can have it. So put 30 tracks up, and literally in the first week we ended up with about 10,000 plays, and I thought that was pretty good, and that was no promotion or nothing like that. Slowly been setting up social media around it, and then we've been filming like little bits of videos, just for like little posts for when we release a track properly. Because the interesting thing about SoundCloud is you can put your stuff up on SoundCloud, and it's like, it's a great way you can interact with your audience directly. There's messaging, people can put comments on your tracks, so it feels like, even though you're releasing music, there's a community there, and that's great, and you can monetize it. I was not aware of any of this, even though I've been a SoundCloud user for years. I used to use SoundCloud only to send tracks to record labels, sorry. So the way I would use SoundCloud would be, I'd have a pro account, and I would upload a track, and then it would be private, and then I would send it to a label that I was wanting the track to get signed to, and that's what I would do, and that would just be for that label, and I'd have hundreds of these tracks all going off to labels to try and get signed to, and that's all I ever used it to. I think occasionally, if a label signed something and they were SoundCloud type people, then it would go up. I had the odd remix up and stuff, but apart from that, there was like I wasn't really doing anything with it at all till now. So it was just really nice. We just quickly put it together, got some like AI art which we'll replace as we go. Been doing the videos. So the video that was on the Instagram, we went up to the moors in the car, drop top, drove about, good laugh, had a water pistol fight, ran over a water pistol in the car, Sharon pretended to be a hitchhiker, that kind of thing. It was just really good to get back into kind of just band shenanigans outside of the serious heavy lift of the studio. But we actually have a proper video planned as well. And this is all in aim of the release. So I think there are 3 releases going to be scheduled that will all have videos. Okay. I think one of them is going to be an animation. So this is going to happen over the next few months anyway. But when we release it, it's not like, you can release from SoundCloud. So you can monetize your stuff on SoundCloud, which is great. But then you can release, and I didn't know this, right? You can release to Spotify and all the other digital outlets as well. So that's really good. So that's, so it's a great experiment for me to do, because obviously with McRocklin and Hutch, we have our label, and we release through that label for McRocklin and Hutch. And that's like one way of doing it. And primarily we're just really focusing on SoundCloud's probably the metric that I look at the most. Spotify would be the one that I'm kind of more concerned with there. But with the Freakstar stuff, it just seems like the SoundCloud thing is a little bit more engaging, because you can get that little bit closer to your audience, and I think it's a very interesting experiment to do. So check it out. Some of the stuff's like weird, kind of cynical pop music, but a few of the tracks, like things like I think that's a good track to have a listen to. That's always my go-to anyway. But it was good. I mean, for late 90s, we were all right. There's only 2 of us. So, Moody, so for the solo album, I'm not sure. This is the thing. Do I do a solo album? Yes, it's something I would like to do, but I'm very focused in at the moment in kind of connecting with everybody through YouTube and creating content seems to be the way forward with me, because I've done like a ton of music, and I do find you've got the thing is you've got to go through the releasing of music, all right? I've been through it all. So when I did dance music, that was releasing through labels, and that was great because you could build an audience, but then you couldn't get any money. Then McRocklin and Hutch released through our own label. That was good because you got some money, but the audience is a lot smaller. But actually, you get more loyal fans through that, and I think that's partly to do with the guitar and sort of things like that. I think to some degree, like me doing a solo album, self-releasing, it would be such niche music. I'd be getting on very, very low numbers, so I'd be kind of doing that music for a very small amount of people. However, having said that, I have got some new Freakstar material. And this is something that's going to come out later on in the year after we've done our 3 releases. And I know for a fact, right, that it's going to have Shred on it. But I do like a good song. I mean, you can't beat a song. And I'd like to have something with lyrics on. It's very difficult for me to do something that's like not... I love synths and things like that, so it's very difficult for me not to do... Everything I do is just sounds like McRocklin and Hutch, doesn't it? Unless I go off into dance mode and do some I don't know, tech house, and it's a different kind of thing. But I'm very weary of that. So it's an interesting one. I suppose I could do something in terms of it would make good. I could do a track and then make content out of it. That would be the other reason I would do it. But I have to have more than sort of just when it comes to releasing. So the other thing is we've got to say, do say hello in the chat now. Very importantly, I need some very open-minded, like-minded people to myself to join one of my coaching groups. So the doors are open, as they always are, but I'm particularly interested in starting a new group, so I need about 6 people. No. I need 2, or I need 6 people. I need 6 people to join the coaching. So basically, everybody, if you're thinking about whether you're good enough or not to join the coaching group, the good thing about coaching, right, is you are in a group, but you don't hear each other's music, and it's not like education where there'll be the really advanced people and the people who aren't very good, and you feel bad about it. It's not like that at all, because for coaching, and this is what's so brilliant about it, that you can do this. There is no differentiation. Okay, that doesn't matter, because the only person that you're in competition with is yourself, and that is it. And what we do in a coaching group is we all get together and we do our wins, problems, and opportunities for the week. Okay, I do a quick bit of coaching, and then we just hit the ground running with some sort of musical game or exercise, if you want to talk about it, that's going to help you make massive amounts of music. Now, the way we look at our music, okay, and this is very shorthand version, is you will learn about the creative process through it being modularized. Okay, so if you've ever read, it's very similar to the Rick Rubin book, right? The Art of Being. Is the creative process is the way that I have it is it's split up. So we have splurging, which is just making music without judgment. We have discovery, which is listening to that music, seeing something that interests us, and then basically running an investigation on it. And I take you through all of these processes. We have drafting, so I take you through drafting. People find drafting really hard, don't they? In other words, the arrangement, making something, all great at like perfecting an 8-bar loop, but how do we tell a story over time? So that's our drafting. And then we have a done, and then we have and sort of going into done, like the done section, actually we don't do anything in, but what we do is we have like a pre-drafting exercise. And what this does is this kind of allows us to do the more creative side of mixing that helps us augment the purpose or the story of our composition. And then after that, we're in done, and then we just let it simmer and then decide on whether it's a good example of what it wants to be. Then it goes into release. And then once it's been in release, you do whatever you need to do. I'm glitching a bit, so I'm just going to unplug this. Right, so yeah, once you're in release, hold on, what are we doing here? Let's see how glitchy I am. I don't know why. It glitches. I need to unplug it for longer. All right, I'm still here. Right, yeah. So I'm just going to unplug it for longer. So yeah, what was I saying? So, and then after release, basically you do whatever you need to do in release for that music to be put out there. And that's the process, and I take you through it. And when you practice this process, right, I can guarantee, right, that you will be prolific, right? Everybody I'm coaching, right, is releasing music. Everybody, like tons of it. There's a guy, I don't know if he's here. But I've got somebody who's released I think he's over 70 tracks now, which is an incredible amount. It's something like, and he's been with me a few years, but it's something like 30 tracks a year that he's putting out there. So, the important thing about The important thing about releasing music, why would you release music? Why would you release any music? And the reason you would release music, right, is because music is worthless, but it does get you opportunities. If I hadn't released any of my music, I wouldn't be sitting here with like Kiesel guitars. Me and Thomas wouldn't have anything to play over. You know, music gets you the opportunities, and it gets you the gigs, and it gets you the attention. It gets you the validation. It gets everything. But weirdly enough, it's absolutely worthless. So you know, that's why we want to be doing music. And the release stage is very interesting because this has been, you know, there are different ways that we can approach our music in that release phase. If you're doing electronic music, a lot of it's like kind of half mixed, you know, by the time you get there, at least in terms of the performances in there. So you're just talking, it's just a straight ahead mix, isn't it? And a few tweaks. If you're talking about sort of doing more live music, then that's slightly different because like when we're doing a more live approach, what we're doing is we're using the process of that machine, that splurge, discovery, drafting. We're using that purely to build the song, to build the blueprint of what it is. And then when we come to release, what we're doing is we're just re-recording all of the parts and then mixing it with a few tweaks to the purpose. When I mention purpose, the purpose is the story. I try not to like focus too much on arrangement because it sounds mechanical. I think, you know, the way that we need to think about music, and this can get lost, is to think about whatever moves we're doing, what is the emotion or story that we're trying to get over, okay? And that way things seem to like sync up a lot better, rather than this is the arrangement and this part contrasts with that, and then it gets all very mechanical, doesn't it? But it's much nicer when we've got like a story, or, you know, that's what I prefer to have, like a little story, or just like a title to work to, or chapter titles, and then you can come up with contrasting emotions and things like that. So but yes, so we need I don't need actually, but it would be great to have 6 new people, 6 new prolific people. At least they will be prolific. So if you've made tracks, you know, for the coaching thing, if you've made music before, right, and then you've released stuff, and you know, you're not, it's like you found it difficult, and it took months for you to like actually kind of get a track finished, and you find the process of being an artist difficult. Well, it doesn't have to be difficult and painful. I know people going like, "Oh, my art, I suffer for my art." Well, it's just nonsense, honestly. You do suffer a little bit, but you don't have to suffer all the time. You know, it can actually be fun. And it doesn't mean, I think there's this thing where, you know, it's like, oh, if I don't feel pain when I'm creating, then it's obviously not very good. Like, I don't buy into that because A, it's a feeling, so it's internal and doesn't have any really reflection to what's externally coming out the speakers, right? Which is what everybody else is going to hear. You know, music is a metaphor for how we feel, right? But it's a completely different metaphor a lot of the times for the person who's hearing it. You know, I mean, my pain can be somebody's pleasure. That's the wonderful thing about music, isn't it? So, and then there's a couple of other really interesting projects that I'm going to be starting up as well, which I need people for. But the coaching thing now, sorry, my coffee went down the wrong way. This is the deal for the coaching, and it's really important, right? So, the coaching costs $237, and you're in a group of 4 people. And we meet every week for 2 hours. So 2 hours every week, every month. Doesn't matter if it's a 5-week month or a 4-week month. It's $237. 2 hours in a group of 4 people, okay, with my undivided attention, helping you make your music from beginning to release. It's an absolute win. And because it's coaching and it's not quite, you know, what you would expect in terms of how I think music courses are delivered. You know, it's like a lot of it's like, I'll teach you how to do a kick drum, or like, it's just like, there's been loads of stuff that's just not that great, like helpful in making tracks. This is actually about making music to get released, right? This is like what you need to do. It's not about building skills. I'm more interested in the skills you already have and the ideas that you have now, and facilitating that and developing that into a unique style, not like EQing a kick drum or a snare drum the correct way. There's plenty of information about that. And anyway, if you want to learn all that stuff, the best way to learn it's just making your own music and reviewing it, you know. But so $237, and I think that's that's like the price of like just your local guitar teacher, isn't it? But in the first month, right? Because like with the coaching thing, if you think, oh, this is not what I wanted, I did actually want the kick drum lesson after all, or I don't need this, or this is Tim's far too weird, I need to get out of this room, I'll just give you your money back. So there you go. So it's absolutely no risk. But I can guarantee you this, if you do what I say, you'll make a shitload of music. You'll make a ton of it. You'll have loads of music. And you'll learn how to make unique music. And you'll learn how to express your emotions through your instrument a lot better. And then, of course, you'll be able to release music and you'll be able to go for that crazy mission. Because when you start releasing music, it's a game changer, really, because you can send it to people. You can send it to important people. You can send it to people to collaborate with. You can do all sorts of stuff. You'll make a shitload of music. Yeah, you will. You'll make absolutely tons of it. And it will pay for itself, But if it doesn't, right, I have another group, okay, which I've just finished doing the pilot for, and that is the GoPro group. Now, the GoPro group, right, okay, this is like where you come onto that group, right? It's a bit more expensive. And basically, I get you to set a business up, and then you start making money out of your music, So if you're wanting to like quit your 9 to 5, you join my GoPro group, and then you can go on the crazy mission of becoming like a full-time original musician. So that's scary. But the GoPro group, you're not really making music on there. We're developing business ideas. And every week you go out and you do something and you move closer and closer to your dream. And it's worked. I have 2 people who've done it and have survived the pilot, and they're up and running and they're making money, and they've got lots of exciting plans which they're doing. So there is the GoPro group if you want to take the scary plunge I wouldn't suggest doing this unless you're making a load of music, right? The first thing you have to do before doing anything as nuts as that is know that if you want to make music, you can just make it to order and do your releasing and all that kind of stuff. Once you get that going, if you're thinking, right, I want to make some serious money, I want to make it, I want to make an income, because you can make a survivable income. It's easier than probably what you think. Then the GoPro group is definitely for you, but I highly recommend doing the other group for $237 first before doing that, because the GoPro group, you get absolutely beasted by me. Like, why haven't you done this? No, it's not like that at all. So, coaching group, GoPro group. Then, for everybody else, right? Now, Sean, what do you think of this idea? Because I'm going to run my idea, because you see what your feedback on this, or anybody else. What I want to do is I'm going to set up a music productivity lab, all right? This is the idea. So for a small fee every month, I'm not sure what it is, probably $50. For $50, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a massive productivity group that could run maybe once or twice a week. I'm not sure yet, and I'm not totally sure on the price, but it'll run a couple of times a week. And this is how, if you're procrastinating, you're going to make music. Probably going to be on an evening about 8 o'clock. Probably going to be on a Wednesday. And what will happen is you'll get a Zoom link, and everybody is going to pile in into my Zoom room, okay? And we're going to make music together. We'll go in the chat, I'll do a preamble. And I think the process will be I'll have everybody post up what it is they're going to do in that productivity session. And it could be anything. So if you're doing a picking exercise, all right, and this productivity session will run, it'll be a 2-hour session, and we'll have a 10-minute break in the middle. Where we can talk and have a cup of tea. But what will happen is, so if you're doing a guitar practice, you'll be on there, you can put your wins, you can put in your aim of what you're trying to achieve. If you're making music, you'll tell me what your aims are, what is it you're trying to do in the session, and I will hold you accountable to it in that session. And when we have our break and the end, we can either review in the middle, or we can review, well, we will be reviewing at the end. And then we can do a little bit of course correction, and then you can come back in. So it could be a great way, like if you're struggling to find the time to do something, then at least that's 2 hours. But it's something that I'm expecting a lot of people to be interested in, and an idea where it could end up a lot of people there. So we're all in a Zoom call. You can be on there practicing. You can talk to me in the chat. You're getting on with your own work. It is the productivity lab. But the main thing is that you're posting in the chat what your aim is. I hold you accountable, and that should be enough. Sounds pretty good. Would there be a question and answer with you? That's a good one. I mean, I might, because to get into the coaching, it could end up quite in depth, right? I would certainly offer some quick fire advice for sure, but a lot of this is going to be the power of posting an intention in the chat, okay, and then me holding you accountable at the end. Okay, in terms of the question and answer group, there's some other things. Oh God, there's so many things I have on the go, right? There's another thing which I shouldn't promote, right, because I'll get told off for it, because I've been told, but and I think you might be interested in this now. You mentioned question and answer, Sean, because I always wonder why people would want to ask a question. Anyway, so there wouldn't be any in-depth question and answer, but I would hold you accountability. So that's that answered. The other thing about if you're not wanting to be in a group, okay, you can book me, right, for a proper one-on-one coaching session. Okay, now I have and I've done hours and hours and hours of practice with this, okay, and I use it every day for lots of different things, but I use a particular coaching model called Thinking Environment. Okay, so that's the model of the practice I use a lot of the time in my one-to-one coaching sessions. So you can book me for a one-to-one coaching session, okay, and if you've been on here, it's $75, okay. You can book me for an hour, okay, and you can be directly coached, and it'll be Thinking Environment. And what that means is it is non-directive coaching, and this is what everybody needs: a good bit of non-directive coaching. What do I mean by non-directive coaching? This is what I mean. I'm not gonna answer anything, but I am going to ask you questions based on information that you tell me. So, a lot of this coaching, what it's about is through questioning. If you're finding something difficult or something stopping you and it's bothering you, okay, you can unload all of that onto me. You just, I'll just say, what do you want to talk about? And then it all comes out, okay? But then what we do is we start reining it in, okay? I'll go, what do you want to achieve in your session? And you'll tell me what you want to achieve in the session. And then, I might say, well, what's been stopping you from achieving that particular goal? And this is where it gets interesting, because what you always find, this is the skill of the coach, is it's not the first, second, or necessarily the third thing somebody says about why they haven't done something. Problems are very, very elusive, and why we don't do things. What you tend to find is is usually a bedrock problem buried deep underneath all of those problems. And that's why you need a coach to get to that problem, that thing. And you know when you find it, because you think, oh, the problem, that is it. Now I'm going to have to do something. And then unearthing this problem, okay? And then we have a look at it, okay? And then we reverse it. And then we create, or you create, an action plan of how you're going to overcome that to achieve the goal. When you do that with somebody, it's extremely powerful. And especially if they're booking multiple sessions, because then they're accountable. They know what the thing is that they need to do. It's been made into small, manageable steps that they've come up with, okay? It isn't consulting what I do, and this is really important. I know I'm not getting annoyed here. I'm not going to give you, I'm not going to say, this is your action plan, right? And send you a PDF of step 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because what inevitably happens is you do that for somebody, okay? You give them it, and then they didn't really come up with that, and they just think, well, I'm not into that. Or they'll do the first thing and they don't get the results that they want. And at the end of the day, it's the ownership thing. They didn't necessarily come out of that. It was based loosely off a problem, and everybody's different. So this is why the coaching thing is very powerful, because you will then see your problem and then you will come up with your own solutions. And when you do that, people get really excited to think, oh, I cannot wait to try, I can't wait to try these ideas out. This is great. Oh, I can do that. Or a lot of the time, the thing that you do unearth that was the bedrock problem is then reframed, and it becomes so, it just seems not as big a problem as you thought, A lot of the time, we dwell on things, don't we? And stories and scenarios, and they become much worse than they actually are in real life. And a lot of it is that. So it's just breaking these things down. And to be honest, I wish I'd been coached throughout my whole entire, kids should have this in school. Because it's like, the heads are opened up and then skills are like chucked into it, right? But there's nobody really saying, what do you want to do with your life, and how are you going to manage it, and what you're going to do, and what ideas do you want to do, and what do you want to do with your life, and how can we help you do this? And, coach them based on the skills that they're acquiring now, and get them to think on outside of the box and how they can use all these subjects that they're learning, push them together and become entrepreneurs. Right, that doesn't happen. Subjects are very, very siloed. But coaching isn't like that. Coaching is, the only thing I'm interested in when I'm direct coaching is I'm only interested in the skills that you've already got. I'm not going to say, you need to know your 5 possessions of your pentatonic scale. That's just not going to happen. But if you've got 2 notes of the pentatonic scale that are working really well, I'll help you help yourself to find out how you can use those in a unique and amazing way that you've never ever thought about, that will get you so fired up and excited. You will run to that studio and want to make music. So book in for one-to-ones. If you can. If you've never had a one-to-one coaching session for $75, before I put the price up, I would do it. Sorry, it's like a shopping channel today, isn't it? It's disgusting. Right, how do you get the $sign on the keyboard? I'll put $75 there. And then you can email me. Okay. So there are tons of coaching type options. We've got our group for $237 where you just make tons of music. You've got the GoPro group where you're going to actually make your career out of it. We've got the music productivity lab, that's going to be a thing. I'll keep mentioning that. I just need to get, anyway, I'll work out how I'm going to do that. And then we've got one-to-one coaching as well. And those are all the things. But if you had to have a guitar lesson, that's also a possibility. But not my favourite thing. I do like playing guitar and stuff, but like this, as you can see when I'm talking about coaching, I get really, really excited because I know that it's the thing where I've seen people make absolute quantum leaps in a session, and they've come back to me completely different. And that's a very, very, very exciting thing to see. Right. So I've been going on and on about coaching. I bet there's loads of people came in and like gone, oh God, he's on one, and left. So what was I doing? I was making a track, wasn't I? I'd love to know why my camera's glitchy. It's definitely my audio capture card. So the other update is, right, this, when I get round to it, I'm going to have another scene, basically. So I'm getting another camera, and it's going to shoot. Oh, I can't really describe it, can I? I'm going to have another angle coming this way, because what I've done is I've built a green wall out of plants. Well, I haven't built it. I had somebody come in and do it for me. So I had somebody come in and put up this like foliage stuff. It's like plastic, but it's like really good. It looks excellent, and then a bit of backlighting, and that looks great for my second scene. So I'm gonna be well, I might order the camera this week actually, because I'm quite keen to get that going. Okay, so let's make some music. Right, now, when I'm doing this stuff, if you're on the live, it's always good to, ask a few questions, as I'm doing my thing. Right, making some chords, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, it's good, like, Sean, it's really good. It's just nice to sit under and play a guitar, like being in a forest. So, it's especially when you got a Kiesel guitar, right? I can sit next in my with my jungle wall behind me, completely in a dark room with just the like kind of red light underneath it, so it looks all like weird and spacey kind of forest thing, a bit like that track I made. And then you've got your luminous fret dots on your Kiesel, and it's like a runway for your hands. So you got the jungle, the runway, and this backlight. It's brilliant. Whoa, that's not a chord. Right, and then I'll tell you what, we're going to have to do some inverting here. So let's try, we'll go upwards for a change. See what that does. Oh, too much. Too much. Oh, there we go. I just put the bass note in so it reminds me what chord I'm actually on here. So this is starting off on E major, isn't it? So let's go up a bit. So that E major, might want to change that a little bit, so we could make it into a sus type chord. We could make it a sustained, like major 7 chord. That's a bit too for me. No, it's going to be a sus chord. We could actually try a major 7 down here. No, that's definitely not working for me. How about into a 6th? Quite good. But probably not needed. We want synthwave chords here, don't we? So you gotta like mess with everything, haven't you? What have we got? We've got a G minor. Minor. Let's make it 7th. What's this one? A. We need to do something with this chord, this A major chord. So it's a major 7, so we could try that. I always like to kind of major 7 everything up. Sorry, B major. So we've already got. We've got B. Let's make it a dominant 7. Let's make it into a 9. It's really weird because I'm never that keen on the dominant 7 sound, that flattened 7 sound on a major chord, so I tend to avoid it most of the time. And I tend to opt for making that chord a 9th or some sort of suspended chord. So we can try that. So, like, the thing is, with sort of beats is you need to find like the X factor, the oddness, the weirdness. So one thing to quickly do it is to get something like Arcade up. And just see what works. Now, I really like those sounds there. I think that'll work great, but I need the reverb off. And then what I do need to do is send it into my record channel. So I don't know if you'll have seen me use this before, but this is like one of your Ableton Live special moves here. Is just to have a record channel handy, because we can do stuff. For example, okay, I've got a channel here called loops, so I can just I'll switch it off there, so I can bring that loop in here now. So we'll have a recording of it there. Needs a bit of boosting, doesn't it? We can do things like tighten it up a bit. Just get rid of some of the like off it. And then the other thing is we can start offsetting it. So no, you don't. You can just record in, and you can do combinations of things. Yeah. So we could. So there, I've just offsetted the start time. The other thing we could do is you can just get a MIDI channel, alright, and just drag this to the MIDI channel, and then we can just do, basically, we can just chop it up. So I'll just switch that one off now. And this option, which potentially is my preferred one, we can just create our own pattern. So usually it'll start right. Maybe a group of 6. So if you do that, it sounds like it's constantly changing over the beat. However, it does need a bit of gating. So when you do your slice, if you put it onto gate, then it'll only play what the MIDI note length is, alright? Then what we can do is there's a couple of I don't know if you're into this, Sean, but you can get some Max for Live free stuff, which is really good. One of them is, where is it? Essentials, devices, and we've got a widen. Now, I think this, if I'm right, this will work on mono sources. There you go. So that's kind of making it wider. One way you can widen. Other way is Hass effect. So just like that delay will do. Knock it out of sync. Switch the filter off. Feedback 0. Wet and dry right up. Take the link out. And then just move one side up. And then that's really wide, so that's quite good because I can hear it just nicely going outside of the center. That bass needs more bite. Don't want to do that. Double it up. I'm just wondering, we could try a little bit of clipping. So clipping's been something I've been messing about with. Yeah, I do. It's on, when I want to smooth mids out and stuff like that, it's actually on here. It's on my lead. I don't like to put it on absolutely everything because it makes me feel sick. After a while, it's like, you know, you can use too much of it, and it's too sweet. But there are other ways we can do things. I thought, well, one of them is we can get. I've started getting back into my Slate stuff, right? And then I realised, right, that I don't know how. I'm interested to see how this will perform on this top bass. Yeah, I mean, let's just have a look. Come on, load. Right. So now. Right, I need to push more volume into this, right? Right, there it's frying. So what this is doing, this FG 73, is I'm just clipping off the transients and therefore bringing in some more detail into the sound. It does need a bit of gain compensation at the end of it. But obviously we can hear it when it goes into distortion and starts colouring the sound. We're doing that. But it's just nicely cutting off those transients. And that's going to bring up the overall level and detail of the sound. So that's quite good. But if you don't have that, I do have this. There's two other options. If I can find it. I had one actually specially built. Oh, clip. It's not there. So if you, well, basically, you can do this with Ableton plugins. So if I'll switch that one off. And we need saturator. So this is one way to do it, but what you've got to do is you've got to compensate for the output. So as I turn up, I'm exaggerating, as I turn the drive up, so you're just on the default setting, as I turn the drive up, this little like orangey line, once it goes above that thin little line there, then it's clipping. So that's another way you can do it. But actually, I had a rack where when you turn the drive up, it turned the output down to compensate for it, which was very handy. And then there's a really cheap Ableton Max for Live zero latency clipper, which is good. This one. So this is GM Audio. Cool thing about this is, if I remember, you can actually audition the clipping. So we could have. So we can just take those top transients off. So the interesting thing about that, when you look at the input's saying -8. So -10. The output is -12.4. So we've reduced that signal by about 3 dB, which is quite significant. And you can't hear any difference in volume. And why that's important is because when we're reducing transients and the music becomes less transient in a dynamic way, it means we're not overworking a limiter at the end on our master chain. So that limiter isn't like clamping down on these silent transients, ruining our music. So we can get our limiter to do a lot less work, and that's how you get a really loud, clean mix. And it's loud, clean mixes are achieved really through clipping a lot of the time. So that's fairly transparent, that clipper. And then we've got, obviously, the way I did it, which is a little bit more colourful. And this is why I should be in the arrange page, really. Oh, I forgot to save my markers in the template, didn't I? Typical. There's actually another chorus part that needs to go in there. So, need to think of some chords. Right. So I'm just wanting a little bit of harmony whilst I come up with a bass line. I'm just thinking because like the whole thing's in a major key. Why not go into minor? Can we do it? Anything's possible. Oh, this is good. This is going to be good. And sometimes we just need a little bit of harmony, something basic. It's weird at once, like... Alright, because I'm a bar short, aren't I? Am I? It's an interesting idea. Doesn't 100%. I like that section, just doesn't quite go, does it? One last thing. We need to hype it with a vocal. Right. Oh my god. Oh god. What is that? Right, and the key is major. That's the section I want. Time's a bit. Oops. Command J, loop, done. Okay, excellent. Well, that's my music making for today. Done. And I think I need to get on with the rest of my jobs. So that was highly educational. We got to talk loads about coaching and was it glitchy again? Oh, I don't know about right. I'm gonna have to investigate. I never used to have glitch problems, but now I do. So it's great. We've got to talk about coaching and some production stuff there as well. I think that's enough for me today. So apart from that, anybody who's interested in coaching, hit me up. We've got the coaching group. There's one-to-one coaching. There's an accountability group that I'm starting, and there's also a GoPro group. So there's like lots of coaching options available at the minute. And I am looking for around about 6 new people to start in my main coaching music making group, which is $237. And if you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. And that's it. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.